Yeah. Tell me what got going on that dirt. Yeah. Yo, if I were podcasting, it would be insane. Knowledge flowing like the sweetest rain. Professor Bear on the mic, spreading wisdom wide. The best thoughts, that's my pride, can't hide.
With the voices in your ear, changing the game.
If I rule podcasting, every thought we'd ignite. In a world of chatter, we'll just walk in the fight. With Professor Bear, we're climbing to new heights. A best thoughts podcast, shining bright in the night. Topics from the heart, never sounding the same. Got laughs and debates, never dull or bland. From culture to tech, take you by the hand. Join the ride with us, feel the vibe expand. With every episode, we shine that
beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul.
So tune in, don't miss what we got to share. If I rule podcasting, I spread the love everywhere.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me this evening. I am Professor Bear, and this is A Bear's Thoughts. And guys, girls, 2026 has been an amazing year so far. I've had the pleasure of getting to talk to many different podcasters and had a wonderful time with each and every one of them. From the people that have helped me get the start of me doing podcasts to a lot of my WSN family members to new people that I've just met for the first time. I have just been having such a great experience and learning so much about them. This gentleman today, this is our first time meeting, but seeing some of his podcasts, I really enjoyed it, and I was really humbled that he would come and join us on the show. And we're getting to learn together. So with that being said, this is David from the Beyond the Wrestling Gear podcast. How are you doing today, David?
I'm doing pretty well, sir. Thank you very much for asking. I'm happy to be here.
So I am so glad for you to be here. Like I said, I watched some of your podcasts and I've really enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed the recent one you had with oh my goodness. And it's funny, I can never remember his name because I try to remember his WWE name. Then I try to remember his indie name, and I always blank out on the Pope's name. I always do.
Yeah, Elijah Burke.
So, but as I would like to learn, like my fans would, what got you started in being a wrestling fan?
Oh, I've always started liking wrestling since I was a kid, around like 8 years old. You know, I got into it. I know before me, the very first action figures I got were from the Attitude Era. You know, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, The Rock, Undertaker, and that's really got into it was during that period of time. And then, of course, my dad used to be somewhat of a wrestling fan too, with wrestlers from like the 80s. And so I had his action figures too, which back in the day, I think they were like the rubber kind of action figures, like the old school ones. Then you had the Ultimate Muscle, and I had all that together. And that's when I really got into it.
So, with that being said, who were some of your favorite wrestlers back then?
There's a lot. I remember I used to imitate Jeff Hardy, with the sleeves. Um, Goldberg was another one which people used to rag on about all the time about his record and his one move set. Um, the Rock was another big one, and Triple H. You always want to be a cool, you know, tough guy. All the time.
So, with that, how did you go from just being a wrestling fan to starting a podcast?
That's a great question. Of course, for years, as I previously mentioned, I've always been a fan, and then eventually I got connected to this podcast through a close friend of mine. She introduced me to this gentleman, Duke. His name is Duke, and he had a podcast called Duke Loves Wrestling. So she put a pitch in for me to be on a show. She told him that I was a huge wrestling fan, a little bit about how I overcome my cerebral palsy, my disability, and I've always been going to shows. So he found that really intriguing, and then we connected. I told him how I became a fan, what got me involved. We talked a little bit about accessibility in wrestling and how important it is to include everybody and in the audience, because sometimes you have these major events, and I don't know if you notice, like on Ticketmaster, for example, like the regular admission tickets are non-accessible individuals are cheaper than the accessible tickets for a show. And then you're kind of stuck missing out on a lot of the action because most people have to sit down, and most of the show is people standing up. So when I kind of told them about that and whatnot, eventually that led to the founder of River City Wrestling Con hearing about my episode, and he's like, David, I'd like you to be a part of my convention, not as just a fan, not as somebody that shows up, but I want you to do media for the event. I want you to interview all the superstars that are there if you get the opportunity. So I've gotten to meet, Kurt Angle, Sammy Guevara, uh, you name it. I've been able to chat with them for a few minutes, and I even got a full interview with Matt Riddle.
Wow.
So yeah.
So, with that being said, and you've been dealing with your cerebral palsy, have you felt um, like wrestling hasn't really thought of people with handicaps or disabled, that they don't put enough energy into making it where people with disablements can go and enjoy this show comfortably?
Oh yeah, I feel like it could definitely be more accessible. As far as wrestling as a whole, you're seeing a shift in acceptance in professional wrestling in general. Like you have people like Greg Ryan who wrestles, various independent promotions as an actual wrestler with cerebral palsy. You have my friend Ken Sticks Ray. He is a professional wrestling manager who has gotten, in the ring, and he's taken bumps and everything. So I feel like um, times are changing, times are evolving, and it's all about you yourself as a person going out there and making that difference, making that change.
Definitely. I've I've noticed too that AEW has, from their beginning, they have tried to set a standard where they are inclusive for anyone,
Oh
and
yeah.
they really have been putting in the work. And I feel like WWE has been doing better also with trying to.
Definitely,
Um,
I see that.
now, I think it's really, pardon my French, but it's the crock of shit that they charge more for people who have disabilities, even because it's not like we want to have disabilities. Like, oh yeah, I want this, and so
Mm-hmm.
charge me more. But I think they could be a lot more generous. We're talking $1 billion company.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get it. At the end of the day, it's a business, and they got to make their money. But you also have to be considerate of people and make it a fair and level playing field when it comes to cost. You know.
Oh, definitely. I've heard in the last little bit, it seems like the only thing that ever comes out of my mouth about WWE is how they're they're overpriced and they're
Oh
not
yeah.
for wrestling fans anymore. But I I never want people to think that I just really dislike them. I guess the big thing for me is look at your fan base and
Hmm.
be a little more, have a little more heart. Again, I understand business, but you can still do good business and include everybody and not try to make them pay a mortgage just to come see one show.
You know how do you? So this news came out today. And I don't know if it's actually true or not, but I hear that the women that are going to Saudi Arabia wrestling for the Royal Rumble, they have to pay for their gear out of pocket, and WWE is not willing to pay for it. What are your thoughts on that?
Not surprising. It really isn't, because for everything that WWE, well, let me say it like this. Now with TKO, they have went more selfish to make money any way they can, and
Hmm.
they will they don't care about the athletes. They figure we're giving you a salary, you can take care of it, and which is really crappy.
Hmm.
They already dealing with so much, and they're bringing you money. You think you could not just take care of wardrobe once? It's not like they're asking for every wardrobe but one. It's not like the wrestlers say, hey, let's go to Saudi Arabia where they hate women. So I it, it it doesn't strike me as surprising. Um, it's just TKO's business model. What about yourself?
Uh, Honestly, if you're a multi-billion-dollar company making money off the fans and off the wrestlers themselves, uh, you owe it to them to at least give them something back. Like this whole them having to pay out of pocket for everything is absolutely ridiculous. Considering that you you work for WWE, of course they're considered independent contractors, but still, you have family, and obviously, obviously there's rules for everything, but to an extent, like give them at least, do this thing where they have like an employee discount where you can get like 5 tickets for five family members, or make it something like that versus, oh, you got to fork $5,000 per ticket for every event. That's no, that's uncalled for.
And then now the wrestlers have to pay it, which there was a time you didn't. You could bring your family and didn't have to pay for them. Now you have to pay for every family member. And again, for me, even with everything that Vince McMahon has done or hasn't done or whatever, he always kept the business at least accessible to your family,
Hmm.
and made certain things, made sure that the the people who work for them didn't have to come out of pocket for certain things.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
So, um, when you when you do your podcast, are you just focused on the bigger companies, or do you do indie shows,
Gr-
or are you a balance of both?
Great question. I'm actually a balance of both. Anything, and honestly, anything and everything. Any opportunity I can get. I've interviewed uh, wrestlers that are just literally starting, like literally starting their journey, like not even a year into it, and I've interviewed them. Like honestly, take any opportunity you can get. That's the best advice I can give. No matter how big or small, it always opens up a door. You know.
I agree with you 1,000%. I honestly, I think as much as I go back into wrestling, I'm 52 years old, so I've been a wrestling fan since I was a little kid. My father was a big wrestling fan, so I know a lot of history, and I do enjoy talking to legends. But in the same token, I love talking to guys and girls who are getting started because I feel like I'm playing a part in helping them get off the ground and getting them noticed. And that is something for me that is just really tremendous. It feels like I'm actually helping pave the way in wrestling.
And you'd be surprised, those opportunities, they eventually start building into something special. They'll see that you're not just content farming, so to speak, trying to look for certain things. Like you see these websites and these YouTube channels, they call it the dirt sheets. They're just trying to interview a certain someone just to get the juicy details. I'm not all about that. I want to put you over. I want to put you over. It's not. This isn't about me. This is about you. And when you're on my podcast, it's about you. And I want people to learn about your journey and where you want to go in the future.
And I'm the same way. It is so refreshing to help people live out their dreams. Again, with me being as old as I am, I can't wrestle. I can't go out there and do that stuff. And if I can help someone else live their dream and get to, even if it's just one fan that comes from that conversation that you get, that makes me feel like I've done my job. I'm happy. I'm trying to help as much as possible, and it helps keep the business alive. When I'm dead and gone, I want wrestling to continue going, to continue striving, because I know what it gave me as a kid and as an adult. And I love it. And I want other people who feel that love to be able to have it and enjoy it.
Like if I could do this, I tell people, hey, celebrate celebrate me, but make sure you bury me in the world heavyweight championship belt, the big gold. Put it around my waist, and when I go underneath the ground, I have it on me. I'll always be champion.
I like that. That is so cool. So, when you go and do your interviews, do you have a certain format that you usually do, or are you more of a, as I like to call myself, a freestyler that whatever we're talking about, that helps me generate questions and get to know the person.
Oh yeah, I would like to consider myself very a freestylist individual. Um, I'm more analytical, so I like to listen to what the the person is speaking about, and then eventually, while they speak, I formulate questions, and eventually those questions come out. I used to be somebody that used to do preset questions, but then I realized it sounds really robotic and it's not really the individual. It doesn't sound authentic. So I'm like, I want the real person. And I always remind them, hey, if you if you cuss, if you smoke, if you do whatever, you can do it on this channel because it's that's you. As long as you're not trying to offend anybody on purpose, you're good.
When you look for guests, is there any certain thing that stands out for you to make you like, I really want to interview that person?
Well, when it comes to beyond the wrestling gear, as the name states, I like to focus on wrestling, but I love to focus more on the person outside of the wrestling business. Like, for example, for Sticks, he's also a DJ outside of wrestling, a strip club DJ, and he does all these things that are fascinating, with broadcasting and whatnot. And so, not just wrestling. Then you have Josh Breeze, who I've also interviewed. He used to be a rapper uh, before actually going into wrestling. So I love to focus more on not just the wrestling aspect, but who the person is outside of wrestling too. You know,
Yeah. With that being said, have you, well, let me ask it like this. When you have someone that you're carrying a conversation with, and they seem like they're timid, don't really know what to say, what do you do to help try to relax them to make the conversation feel just genuine?
honestly, I always tell them, hey, I can relate to you. I always try to shift it to maybe tell them a story about how I felt, shy a certain way, and get them to open up a little bit. But honestly, it's you have to sometimes you have to let them lead the conversation because when you force it out, it's not going to work for any either side. It's if they feel uncomfortable about something, try to find something they enjoy and then build off of that, build a conversation off of it.
Right. I've um I've had a lot of times where I try to talk to whoever I'm interviewing and get a quick sense of how they're feeling, and then I'm big in saying, hey, just think of us as two old friends having a conversation,
Yeah.
and don't think, just don't we're looking at each other in camera, but don't think about it. Just think of me as an old friend. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and just let's have fun. And and I'm very quick to ask, hey, is there anything you don't want to talk about? Because I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable or feel
Right.
like they have to discuss something that they discussed on 20 other podcasts and they're sick of,
Mhm.
again, anything to do to make people feel comfortable.
That, and you also don't want to get caught up in, because depending on what the topic is, you don't want to get caught up in a situation where you're kind of they might get really upset with you. They might not want you to air the podcast, or might want to take out certain things, which I've gotten that before. But fortunately, it was more of an amicable, hey, can you remove this for me? And I'm like, gladly, I'm not going to keep it in there for you.
I've, uh, I've been very lucky on that part where I haven't had that often, and a lot of times I'm going live anyway, so I try to very be mindful, especially if I already know that a guest I'm talking with, they have a track record or something maybe that controversial. So I always try to be mindful of that. Again, even after everything else, I want you to have fun. I want you to be able, if someone say, hey, you did Professor Bear's show, how was he? I want you to be able to tell them the truth that, oh, he was great. Or I don't want that bad reputation.
and and I could say this from right now, from like right now you and I are speaking, but then from seeing your content too, you seem like an amazing individual, and I appreciate you having me on the show. It's been awesome so far.
Well, I appreciate that. And I, if nothing else, I've tried to learn, if I set a bad example for myself, it's not just me that's going to be hurt by it. I take very seriously my loyalty and everything to my company, WSN. And I do not want, I would rather you not like me versus not like my company.
Right.
Talk bad about me all you want, but don't talk bad about my company. That's how I feel. Again, everybody has, and I try to be mindful too. Even if everybody has bad days. No matter what's going on, you don't know how a person is feeling. So sometimes you have to give a little bit and like, oh, okay, I'm just going to assume he's having a bad day and stuff, and go there before I snap, as I like to do it, call it, because again, we all are human. We have good days and bad days, and the goal of my show is to have fun, talk wrestling, and talk anything that is related with wrestling.
Yeah, I love it, and I was looking at your website. You guys have been around. You've been around forever.
Well, a little bit. We've been working, and Lord knows I am out here trying to continue grinding and build our platform up. It is I think the best part about all of it to me is I get to talk about something I truly love. I have a lot of history with. I've gotten to meet so many great people that I never would have if it wasn't for wrestling. And
Right.
there's so many good people out here like yourself that have great podcasts. And anything I can do to help, why wouldn't I? Because I'm not that person that I feel like, oh, you're taking my audience, you're taking or oh, you're not big enough to be on my platform. No, none of that matters to me.
Yeah.
If I feel like you're a good person, you're funny, why not help? Because if everybody took that attitude with me, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. There's so many people that gave me chances and were nice enough to let me on their format to talk about what my company is doing. I wouldn't be here. So why wouldn't I give someone a chance because someone gave me a chance?
Right. It's like with me, like during the first River City Wrestling Con, I bumped into Hall of Famer Teddy Long. He and I had a nice greeting, hello and whatnot. And I gathered up the courage to ask him about, interviewing him. And he's like, well, I usually do, my podcast, you'd have to pay me for an appearance. And then eventually towards the end of the convention, he comes up to me and says, you know what? I want to shout out your podcast. Let's do a quick video and you can post that on your channel and as a shout out. And he did a shout out for me. With gimmick, I might add, he said if you don't listen to because this is my first podcast, David Cerebral and Fitness podcast, you'll go one-on-one with the Undertaker.
It's amazing how there are so many really nice people in wrestling. Again, I had a guest on yesterday when we were talking about how wrestling has just a dirty side, which everything does. But, I'm like, there have been people I've heard some bad things about, but you wouldn't get me to say not a bad thing about them because I know how they treated me. Like one person in particular, Ahmed Johnson. I don't care what anyone says about him. I know how he treated me and what he did for me when he did not have to do it. And I appreciate him, and you would not catch me saying a bad word about him.
Yeah, for me it was Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle during River City Wrestling Con. He my friend Sticks, the one I mentioned earlier, he came up to him and told him about my podcast. He's like, "Yo, David's got a great podcast. He's a great guy. Would you be willing to do an interview with him?" And this was him just literally coming off WWE, like not even less than a year coming out of WWE. And he said, "You know what? When do you want to do it here right now?" And so I ended up kind of 6-minute interview with him, asking him different questions and whatnot. And he was so nice, so friendly. He got down to my level. He's like, "Can I put my arm on your armrest?" Because that was my scooter. He's like, "Go ahead." And he's like, "You can ask me anything." So we talked about New Japan, MLW, um, anything and everything. His friendship with Randy. So he was such a good guy, and I gotta give him credit for that, even though people like to give him a hard time.
Yeah, and I think too, everybody is going to have different experience with different people, and I think sometimes we as people always lean to hearing the bad things and not realizing, maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they did what the person said they did, but maybe they had a reason. It's so easy to come up with an opinion of someone without getting their side of it or knowing what truly happened. So I again, I try to do, again, we all human. So, we have good days and bad days, but I try to give people a benefit of a doubt and let them prove themselves to me. And you could be, if you're that person, then you're that person. But you would never be able to say that I didn't give you a chance.
Right. I agree. I agree. You sometimes it's all it takes is an opportunity to start something.
Yeah. And it's so it's funny to me with being in the podcasting as long as I have now, where I get to a point where I start watching other people's podcasts, and what I watch it for is different than a lot of people do. Sometimes I will listen to a podcast not for who they're talking to, but just to see how they act, how they're like. I've gotten a lot of compliments on my background and stuff, and I really appreciate that because I like to have a good theme to everything I do. And some people, I will see their background and be so amazed that I'm just sitting there watching and trying to pick apart, like, oh, that's nice. I wonder how they did that. I would love to do something like that, and look at different aspects of it versus just listening and for the guest.
Yeah. So sometimes that's how you kind of build your own style. How you speak with people, how you come off as, and when you come off as a person who's easygoing and you know are not prying for anything, they want to come to your podcast over and over and over. Like I've had guests come on my show several, like come on like 3-4 times within the span of a year because they just enjoy being on the show and they always have something to say. And I'm like, hey, it's always open.
Knock on wood, I cannot think of one guest, honestly, that I wouldn't have back. I always love to have an open invitation. Again, just because wrestling, the concept of wrestling that a lot of people have is that wrestling is the same. And
Yes.
It's not that. There's so many different types of wrestling styles, different genres. It's so different. And you just, I love to give different things. And when I get a chance to learn about something, I soak it up. It's fun for me. And when and that's the biggest thing. When it stops being fun for me, then that's where I'll be like, I'm not doing it anymore. But it's too fun for me. I get to meet so many different people. I've gotten blessed to meet legends that I grew up on, and it's just so much fun. And I get to meet so many cool people from so many different places. And it's like, man, why would I give this up? It's too fun.
Right? No, if you honestly, if you enjoy something, it's never a job. It's that's the way you should see it. It's not a job. It's just something you enjoy, your passion. You know.
Definitely. So, with that being said, the Royal Rumble is tomorrow. Are you
Ooh,
looking
okay.
forward to it?
I am. I am. I did you see that WWE accidentally botched Braun Breaker's entrance graphic? Apparently, he's number one, but from what I hear, I thought Cody was number one.
So, that's a friend of mine sent out a text message, and he didn't say who was number one, but he said that they screwed up and announced who was going to be number one. And I think that is actually a great spot for him, especially if they plan on letting him run the whole Royal Rumble. I think that will help cement him. He's already over. That will help build his legacy even more.
My
And
con- I'm sorry. My concern with Braun Breaker, the only thing I have with him is his cardio, because a couple months ago, I think he did a gauntlet with a bunch of different superstars. I forget which ones, but he was gassed out within less than an hour. So I don't know if he'll last the whole hour.
that's
Listen,
but
but
that's the beautiful thing about the Royal Rumble. You have a lot of spots where you can go and catch a win and lay down. So they can mask it very well. I I have, like, my biggest thing with the Royal Rumble is I don't want big names to win it. I want younger talent. Well, not younger talent, just not their main talent winning it, because you have this opportunity to help build a younger character or a mid-level person and help and see if they can be the next superstar.
uh,
When Cody won it, it was like, okay. He won it the second time. It was like, okay.
yeah,
But Jay Uso winning it. Now, I tell you
yeah,
no lie. At first, I was ticked about it, but
I
then
was too. I was too.
but then the next day, after thinking about it, I was like, they gave me what I asked for, and I
But
and then I became okay with it, even though I thought the push for Jay was silly. But I appreciate they gave me what I wanted, and I would personally love for them to have an undercard win it versus someone who's going to get a title shot anyway.
right, and this is my opinion, but I felt like at the beginning Jay was he was doing really really well. As soon as he started cutting promos and doing his long entrance to the ring, the whole push just fell flat. And then I think eventually Triple H said, "You know what? We tried this. It didn't work out. Let's put him back in the tag team division with his brother."
I mean, they gave him a good year run. I mean, he's won. He won the Intercontinental Championship. He won the World Championship. He won the Royal Rumble. I mean, how many wrestlers get that in a year? And he's over. Oh my, he is, and I told someone this right before he went on his run. I said he's not over it. It's his yeek is over. That's why they're giving him this push. Again, he Jay is Jay. I prefer Jay in the tag team, the Usos. I do. But in the end, at least they gave him a shot. Whether it worked or not, it was a new face. It gave a new something new and fresh for a moment. And I'm okay with that.
You know what I'm not okay with currently is how Triple H is treating LA Knight. He's treating LA Knight like a second class wrestler, basically at the bottom of the totem pole of the card. That man's got oozing charisma. How are you not pushing him to the moon? He should be world champion right now, in my opinion.
I felt like they missed the boat with LA Knight. When he was going up against the bloodline, that was the time to get him that. And now I just feel like he is
he's lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, it's just like and I guess too. Now I did. It was a point where he was okay with me, but and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I really, when I say certain things about wrestlers, I'm not trying to disrespect him.
Course, yeah.
But he felt like a bargain basement Stone Cold. and he's a great wrestler. He is. But yeah. What? It's like, come on.
I see it now. Like some of the mannerisms remind you of Austin.
Yes, but again, I'm not mad at him for that because there are wrestlers that have taken other people's mannerism and stuff and shot to the moon with it. Hulk Hogan is one of them. Hulk Hogan literally stole superstar Billy Graham's everything. He stole the board. He stole the everything. And Hogan went to the moon. Most wrestling fans don't even know who superstar Billy Graham is. Yeah, and that's true. Ric Flair. Look, Ric Flair is one of my all-time favorite wrestlers. But I'm not. But I would be. I would be a hypocrite not to realize he stole the name from Buddy Rogers. His mannerism, Buddy Rogers. So I get it. It happens, and as in life, everything that becomes old becomes new again.
Did you watch Unreal in that episode with LA Knight and how Triple H talked to him backstage and he said that moment during the Money in the Bank where you were going up in the briefcase, that was your moment to win and you screwed it up?
No, I refused to watch Unreal.
Really? Well, I mean, if you want me asking, like, why don't you?
No, I don't have a problem. Because I'm such an old school wrestling fan. I think that it's already too much stuff that exposes the business.
Okay.
And for me, I didn't like any of the Diva shows. Fair enough. Even when Cody and Brandy had their show, I liked it a little bit, but it's the same thing. It's too much details where, for me, it shouldn't be. I get it. We're in a different time and different era, and people love to know the backstage. But I guess because the way I was raised, I still have that mindset. Yeah, I know kayfabe is dead, but let me have that. Let me at least this.
Right.
So that's why I don't watch it.
Yeah,
I tell you another thing I hadn't watched. Um, Vince McMahon's Netflix thing. I have not watched it.
I saw it and then I shut it off because it was like, what's the whole point of this? If you basically excommunicated the person who created this entire empire. I get he made that mistake. Granted, I'm not trying to defend the guy.
Right.
He made a grave mistake, which is obviously it's horrible. It's deplorable, but you got to give him credit for how big the wrestling business has gotten. Without Vince McMahon, there would be no WWE.
Wrestling wouldn't be where it is today. Uh, the same. I feel the same way, even with Hulk Hogan. As much as I did not like that man, I would not disrespect what he's done for the business and has made it to this day. But it's just I'm not that ignorant. Just because I don't like him doesn't mean he's not one of, arguably, if he's not on your top four oh goodness, Mount Rushmores, I believe something is wrong with you. That's just me because of what he's did. The business wouldn't be the same without him.
I mean, I gotta tell people, without Vince McMahon, we'd have no Triple H, we've had no Undertaker, we've had no Rock, and we've had no Austin because all four of them, when it came to them and Vince, they were gold. They struck gold with him. They were so good, especially on screen. I don't know if you noticed during the Attitude Era when they were together, they meshed so well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have one more question for you before we wrap this up. If you were able to interview anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Ooh, good question. Let me see. Who have I always wanted to interview? Does it have to? It can be anybody from any promotion.
Anybody, any promotion.
Kenny Omega.
Kenny,
Kenny Omega. I came really close to meeting him a few years ago. Like I was literally 3 feet away from him. Security kicked everybody out right before I was gonna meet him.
Oh wow!
And ever since then, I'm like, I hopefully one day we'll cross paths and at least say hi, hello, picture something. But I've always wanted to meet him, and I've always wanted to interview him.
That's cool. Kenny, I've heard a couple of people say Kenny. I usually get Guerrero, Owen Hart, and Vince actually, which was kind of surprising for me. But I love asking that question because it just lets me kind of pick and see what type of thought process the person has of the person they would interview. Like if I had a chance, I'm so old school to my heart. It would either be Dusty Rhodes or honestly him or Bruiser Brody. I would love to have a conversation with Bruiser Brody.
2 top choices, in my opinion.
I want to thank you for doing my show, first of all, but thank you for what you are doing for all of us in podcasting. I'm a big firm believer in giving people their flowers, and I appreciate everything you've been doing. not just for me, not just for your fans, but for all of us, because you continue to help keep wrestling going, and you have great interviews. And again, I'm a big believer in giving people their just due, and in my eyes, you deserve it, and I wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you, thank you. And who knows? I mean, I've had a few of my wrestling fans ask me, "Would you ever step in the ring for a one off and do something?" I'm like, you never know. I might decide to want to step in the ring and do something.
There you go. Man, I am very thankful again for you doing my show. Um, I hope you continue having the success, and hopefully one day you can get to talk to Kenny and y'all will have a great interview.
Thank you. And I'll put in a good word for you too. Be like Professor Bear also is also looking for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys,
It's my
girls,
pleasure.
this has been another great interview around the campfire. Man, if you don't try to reach for your dreams, you have no one to blame but yourself. Even if you don't make it, still try. Don't let things stop you from at least trying. It's an amazing thing and a blessing. Sometimes it takes us quite a while to get to live out our dreams, but it can happen. But it won't happen if you do not try. And I'm so blessed to get the opportunities that I do and enjoy what I'm doing and talk to some great people. And so that's my message to you. Whatever you want to do, at least try. Try. Don't give up on yourself. And the other thing that I always say before I end my shows, please, please, please go support your local indie promotion. It is an amazing thing to go and see these young men and women give it their all to live their dreams. And you will never know who you will see starting out and maybe one day be a world champion in a major promotion. You never know. And I'm not saying that indies are better than WWE. I'm not saying they're worse than WWE. But what I am saying is it's a different feeling. And if you have a family and take it, you are going to give them memories that's going to last a lifetime. So please do that. With that being said, I am Professor Bear. This has been a Bear's Thought, and we will see you around the campfire again soon. Y'all take care.